Not a single game lived up to the hype. That's it. In a show that once gripped us with glass bridges, red light massacres, and psychological warfare over marbles, Season 3 served us. Aesthetic confusion and emotional loopholes pretending to be games. Every challenge felt like a budget remix of a better idea. The rules felt vague. The stakes were unclear. The tension was mostly borrowed from the soundtrack. And this is just the starting point of what went wrong with the season. When we first learned the frontman was Detective Hwang's brother, that twist made a sequel feel essential. There had to be more. More about In-ho. More about how a winner turned into the masked puppet master. More about this tragic family divide at the heart of it all. I even did a video of how things might have turned out to be in Season 2 before it was released, but the creators dropped that side of the story entirely. Season 3 gives us nothing. No real backstory or emotional reckoning. In-ho's transformation from desperate player to frontman remains a mystery, and not in a good way. More like someone forgot to write it and hoped eerie lighting would cover it up. As for Jun-ho, his arc is the definition of empty calories. He sneaks in just in time to not stop anything, fails to save anyone, and doesn't even get a proper confrontation with his brother. All he gets is WAEE, and then watches the island go boom. And while he's busy doing all that nothing, the real monsters, the VIPs, escape untouched. His journey in the end feels less like a rescue mission and more like a convenient excuse to destroy what was left of the Korean games. For me, that's more like wasted potential in a trench coat. The games were lame, which honestly might have still worked if the games were actually good this time. But let's just call it what it is. The games this season were lame. From the first round to the last, it felt like the show forgot what made its own concept work. The tension was gone, the fear was forced, and the design barely held together. Let me explain. Hide and seek wasn't hide and seek. Not even close. I mean, when I played it as a kid, it was war. You'd wedge yourself behind water tanks, climb up trees, hold your breath in closets while someone was inches away from finding you. It was strategy and suspense. It was hiding so well your friends started questioning your existence. But in Season 3, it looked more like a rejected Running Man challenge. You had flat walls, neon lights, and people sprinting around like they were late for a flash mob. There was no tension or any clever hiding spots, just aimless chasing in a space so open and dull it stripped the game of any actual gameplay. The rules were already a mess before the game even properly began. One key didn't open all the doors, and on top of that, the players actually needed all three shapes to escape, something they were never told in advance. From the very beginning, the entire setup felt rigged. And then there were the so-called death drop doors, which the show made a point to highlight, only to never actually use them. If you're going to set up a threat like that, why not follow through? This flawed game design was downright frustrating to watch. The whole thing started to feel like a metaphor for the broken systems we deal with in real life. Study hard, follow every rule, do exactly what you're told, and somehow you still end up getting punished. And when it was all said and done, only the male contestants had survived. Whether that was a conscious choice or just careless storytelling, the imbalance was hard to ignore. And just when you thought things might turn around, along came Jump Rope. It clearly wanted to be the new glass bridge, a test of timing, fear, and skill, but ended up as its shallow, clumsy cousin. The platform was so wide you could have casually walked across it with a cup of coffee, but of course in every single group there was that one guy, the one who panicked, hesitated, or just decided to block the rope like he was auditioning for Villain of the Year. And because of him, everyone else fell. Not because the game was hard, but because someone made it stupid. That's what passed for challenge this season. It was chaos masquerading as difficulty. And once again, when the dust settled, only the men remained. At this point, it felt like the show was trying to say something. And whatever that message was, it wasn't great. And finally, Squid Game in the Sky, the one that was supposed to mean something. But the rules were a mess. The game didn't even start until a switch was pressed, meaning the players could debate forever while the clock ticked pointlessly in the background. It was designed to manufacture a last-second brawl between Gi-hun and 333. And sure, it worked if all you wanted was a dramatic fistfight, but it came at the cost of everything else. The themes, the logic, the emotional weight, all gone. The other players were just background noise. The game itself was barely a game. The audience had no connection to the remaining players. The show had already eliminated every emotional anchor. Yunju, the granny, 222, 210, all gone. What we were left with were mostly nameless, forgettable faces and forced drama. If the games were bad, the characters were worse. Because this season didn't just mishandle them, it twisted them to serve whatever theme or moment it wanted. Logic be damned. Let's start with Myungi. He was was introduced as a calculating, strategic player, someone who clearly cared about Junhee and the baby. But somewhere along the way, that version of him just vanished. Suddenly, he's trying to kill the baby with no real explanation. One minute he's protecting her, the next he's ready to toss her aside, and killing player 100? That made zero sense. Myung-gi had 2 allies left and the chance to control the game with a simple lunchbox vote. But instead, he kills the weakest old man for no reason, and then tries to sway someone half dead who already knows what's coming. It's like the writers threw out his brain just to push a message. And then there's Gi-hun, the emotional anchor and the soul of the show, the one we're supposed to root for no matter how dark it gets. But before we talk about him, did you catch what the VIPS said? We've never seen the same player win twice. There was another winner before him who came back? Who was it? How did that play out? Was it In-ho, or is there an entire story hiding in plain sight? Seriously, let me know what you think, because that line felt way too loaded to be a throwaway. Anyway, Gi-hun starts off with one clear mission: protect as many people as he can, but after his rebellion fails and he straight up murders Daeho, suddenly he grows a conscience. Now he's too noble to kill anyone in their sleep, even though just hours earlier those same guys were ready to murder him and a baby. It's like the writers wanted to drag him back into the role of the hero, but forgot to actually earn that shift. He knows he's a target, he knows the stakes, and still, he gambles everything to prove In-ho wrong, not save lives or win, just to make a point. And when the final game comes, he walks in with no strategy. He stands around while everyone else talks. He gets lucky when Myung-gi randomly sides with him, and then, in the last round, he wins, not through gameplay or survival, but by making a dramatic ideological statement to In-ho. These weren't arcs. They were rewrites, characters reshaped on the fly to fit a theme or make a moment hit harder, but when you bend them too far, they break, and that's exactly what happened. Season 3 wanted to say something big, something about democracy, fairness, ethics, but instead of a message, what we got was a mess. The show tried to explore complex themes like moral choice and societal structure, but ended up looking like it was just ethic washing, trying to make horrific actions seem acceptable simply because they followed some rules. Like voting to kill a baby. That's not a moral dilemma, but a horror disguised as fairness. And the pacing was brutal. Not because there wasn't enough time, but because they didn't use the time they had wisely. Way too much focus was shoved onto the boat crew who didn't need that much screen time. Meanwhile, the relationship between Gi-hun and In-ho, arguably the most important thread, got barely any space to breathe. The VIPs walked free without any confrontation or reckoning. Not even a real scene with Gi-hun, the one person who actually broke the system. That was a huge missed opportunity. The whole season felt like it was juggling too much and dropping everything. What should have been a tight, emotional, high-stakes final act turned into scattered noise. Not because the show needed more episodes, but because it spent the ones it had on the wrong things. First of all, let's not pretend Squid Game was ever good with endings. I mean, I had my problems with the season 1 finale too. Gi-hun never helped the homeless man. He didn't get on the plane, even though he spent the entire show saying he wanted to change for his daughter. For all the talk about the goodness of humanity, he didn't walk away a better person. That ending only felt cleaner because there was less to wrap up. Season 3, it was trying to land too many things at once, and it dropped almost all of them. Most people walked away from the ending calling it a downer, and yeah, on the surface, Gi-hun dies, the games go on, and the machine keeps running. It looks bleak. But if you actually sit with it, there's more going on. There's hope buried under the rubble if the writers get wise a bit. In-ho, the front man, doesn't suddenly switch sides. Instead, he gives money to Gi-hun's daughter, to his brother Jun-ho. Was that because of some newfound conscience, or was it him being a fair judge for the games? What exactly is his life purpose? And based on what we saw of him in Season 2, it's a believable step forward. Squid Game Season 3 had the potential to be great, it had the cast, it had the setup, but instead of building on what came before, it staggered its way to the finish line like a show unsure of what it wanted to be. It sabotaged itself, and you can feel the weight of the platform behind it. It's obvious the creator didn't originally plan to continue this story. Netflix did, because Season 1 became a global phenomenon, and when that happens, the game changes. Suddenly, it's not about the message, it's about the money. Squid Game became the very capitalist machine it set out to criticize. That irony alone says everything, and that's where I'll leave it. If you've made it this far, you probably felt it too. Season 3 was conflicted. And while we're at it, what do you think about Squid Game USA? Is that something you're excited for? Or does it feel like the cash grab no one asked for? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really enjoy talking to you guys.